Not correlated. I mean, look, it's so not correlated that it's kind of silly when people talk about it. I mean, in periods of dislocation, particularly liquidations of leverage, all correlations go to one. Stocks, bonds, currencies, commodities, everything. But those are garbage numbers. It's kind of like when people look at the PE ratio of the S&P over the last 10 years and say, oh, relative to that. I'm like, but that's polluted data. So the long-term correlation is because stocks and bonds generate their return from economic activity, inflation, GDP growth, et cetera. That has nothing to do with Bitcoin. Bitcoin prices are determined by the technology itself, by the adoption, particularly of young people, millennials, and the change in the level of fiat in which we price. Because the thing that just gets, I mean, you got your orange shirt on. Look, I do have on, it is Bitcoin Pizza Day. I have the orange pants and I have the Bitcoin Pizza sock game. So I'm ready. I am ready to celebrate Laszlo today. And we should celebrate Laszlo. Everybody picks on him. That exists in the absence of a liability. That is a very different thing than currency, which is backed by government debt. And I'm not saying that currencies are bad or evil. They're just not money. Gold has been money, but gold is not very divisible and it's not very portable. It's got all the other elements of being money. But if I had a bar of gold here and I wanted to break it into 3 pieces and send y'all a piece, I'm not strong enough to break it. That's the first problem. And I couldn't stuff it in the computer and send it to you. Whereas with a few taps, I can send you or Laszlo or anybody else sats. Like, I don't know if I coined this term, but I'm going to say that I did. So, there's a thing in the South here called salt life. I don't know if you've ever seen the
stickers are literally everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. They're everywhere. And it's people who go to the beach and hang out. Well, I created an image called Sat Life, because we should all live Sat Life. And I saw there was a proposal, maybe Saturday or Sunday, that time of wheelbarrows of Deutschmarks. Life kind of sucked. And so if you happen to be alive during that period, it can be very, very painful if you haven't diversified out of fiat into these other things. And I think we're perilously close for the West.
Well, I don't. Let me take the other side of that. So I don't think we're anywhere near hyperinflation in the U.S. And in particular, the dollar is still a reserve currency, even if it were to transition away from being the global reserve currency. That is a multi-decade process. And the key thing here is that for that reason, all of U.S. debt is dollar denominated. And so it's very hard for the US to get into a spiral where they need to buy some other currency and with their dollars. And so the dollar massively loses value rapidly. I think what is more likely, but in many ways scarier because it is baked in. We're already
in 10, but everyone talks about the total value of above ground gold. Well, your gold watch doesn't count. I mean, it's not, it could be used as money in a pinch, but really I'm talking about the base layer that sits in the central banks. And so that's easy. But Murray says, no. It's all of it. It's all 100 trillion of knowable wealth because history says that bad money crowds out good. That's why it's called Gresham's law. And you see an example after Turkey, after Venezuela, after all the places where bad people get in charge and they hyperinflate because they get rich because they own all the stuff and they impoverish their people and then they stay in power because they promise the poor people little scraps like free electricity or gasoline. And that is gone on for actually millennia. Bad money crowds out good. But Murray will say, no. This tipped you in Bitcoin. They would buy more stuff. And she literally, and I'm not making this up, she literally went over and put a bar or a QR code next to the tip jar. And because someone helped her set it up. And because she had the aha moment. And so it is a defensive move for all these Bitcoin treasury companies that now there's the greed part, the Me Too. But ultimately, if we think about what's going on. And Scott, I have a little more sinister view of the Donald. Everyone thinks, oh, he's just an idiot. He doesn't understand tariffs. No, he understands exactly. There's only been really meaningful tariff use in the United States 3 times. 1828 led to a depression. 1930 led to a depression, and 2025. And since 1913, we basically had no take 60 cents on the dollar. That ain't going to happen. So then you can default on it. What happens if you default on your debt? You're out. Politicians don't like out. They like in. So the only way out is to devalue your currency, to inflate away. And that is why we created the central bank in the first place. Because before 1607 or 1609, I don't remember the date, before the Rothschilds created the first central bank in the Netherlands. Remember, the Netherlands, no offense to anyone from the Netherlands, but it's about the size of like Ohio. How was that the global superpower for about 70 years? Think about that for a second. That's the only way is they would literally print money out of thin air and pay mercenaries to go, beat up all the other, strong armies around the world. So that the creation of as much wealth as possible. And then you should tax consumption so that, everyone can pay their fair share. But
yeah, my hotel's on fire. I might need to escape.
You only got 3 more minutes anyway, so can you breathe?
I'll put my life on the line for 3 more minutes.
I didn't mean to interrupt there, Yusko.
No, it's all good. It's one time Scott and I were talking, Yago, and we started to go down the rabbit hole of FTX and all the secret clandestine ties to Epstein, et cetera, et cetera. Literally, my power went out. And they're like, oh my God, did the black cats come for you?
It was great.
You have to create the energy. And this whole idea that energy intensiveness is negative is so wrong.
Yeah,
and
it's literally
climate
the opposite
scam is
of
wrong.
fiat.
And all of it is just antithetical. Life has gotten infinitely better since the harnessing of fire and carbon and all of the things that we do to have a better life. And this idea that we should not do those things is just silly.
That's fiat. The fiat mentality requires no energy to create something to pay for goods and services that actually require energy for somebody to produce. That's why
so well said,
money should require energy. Makes a lot of sense, guys.
Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Support the channel by liking this video, subscribing, and enabling post notifications for more content on crypto and digital assets. Check out our other videos and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement helps with the YouTube algorithm and keeps the content coming. Thanks for your support. Enjoy the video.